Hi, I'm Jessica Reeves. This is my EDL A53 Module 10 case study. Carl is a student in a special education program who's currently in Mrs. Taylor's classroom. His parents have recently divorced, and since then he's become increasingly aggressive and turning violent in the classroom. And so far, this has all been aimed at Mrs. Taylor, but it is escalating, it seems like, every day, according to the case study, and she would like him to be taken out of her class. Problem identification and analysis. We know that Carl's behavior's changed to aggression since his parents' divorce. We know that his teacher, Mrs. Taylor, is receiving the brunt of the aggression, and he has become violent in her classroom. We know that the parents have agreed to whatever changes necessary in his IEP, even including to pull him when he's violent, in order to help him end the classroom. What do we need to know? We need to know the frequency of Carl's violence. We need to know if there's triggers to his outbursts. Is he sitting by somebody who's saying something to him? Did mom and dad fight on the phone last night? Are there some possible triggers to what's going on? We need to know if this is something that's increasing in intensity, or if it is plateauing and he can hopefully go back to his nonviolent self. Our proposed plan of action with appropriate strategies for implementation. Strategies for implementation, I would do these three things. I would propose we have Carl meet with the school psychologist at least once, and then she can determine if mediation is needed, especially since the two older siblings are already on it, or if they need to set up a regular meeting schedule to deal with his recent life changes. I would also have Mrs. Taylor make sure she's detailed records of Carl's behavior, including what happened up to his aggression, what time of day was it, mood of his day, did he come in mad, those kind of things. I would also communicate with Carl's parents that if he's becoming violent and endangering other students, and he does not improve with mediation or being pulled out, that he will need to find alternative schooling, as we can't risk the safety of other students just so he can stay in the classroom. What is best for students? We know that Carl's behavior has worsened since his parents' divorce, and he's not always acted aggressively or violently, and this is a relatively new thing, and there's hope he'll calm down after the divorce settles down. We would want to keep him in the school if at all possible, since we do not want to introduce any more unnecessary changes for him. We know that he has been increasingly aggressive and violent, including throwing things across the room, and the classroom teacher is at her wit's end of how to work with him, and he's mainly aggressive towards her, but now other students in the classroom are nervous or feel in the air. We cannot risk several students or even one student's safety and just cross our fingers he gets better. There needs to be a set course of consequences for when he acts aggressively. As an administrator school leader, we cannot let a classroom teacher or any staff member, for that matter, feel threatened by a student. We also need to maintain the morale of staff and ensure that they know it's being taken care of and their issues not being ignored. What I was thinking, feeling, and valuing as I responded to this problem, I'm a classroom teacher, so that's how I thought about it. I was thinking, if this is happening in my classroom, how would I handle it? How would I want my special education team to handle it, my administration team? As professionals in education, we want to be able to give every student the best possible education. Unfortunately, sometimes a student's best learning environment may not be in our classroom at that point in time. Unresolved issues. We still need a formal evaluation from the school psychologist to determine if it's a predetermined condition where maybe this divorce was an emotional catalyst to something he already had but just wasn't as pronounced yet, or as maybe it's how Carl's dealing with his emotions. As an administrator school leader, I would like to observe the class a few times with Carl in it just to see if I couldn't pick something out that Mrs. Taylor may not be able to notice. She's dealing with, I'm guessing, 15 to 20 students, and we don't always notice the one student. We miss things. We don't want to, but you're going to. You can't avoid it. So maybe if an administrator could come in and just watch the one student to see what's going on, see if he's sitting by somebody, if somebody is mentioning something, if it's a certain topic, just to see if we couldn't help pinpoint that. I'd like to see Carl go to mediation similar to his siblings, since the divorce was a messy one, and it seems to be a trigger for his behavior. We know it was messy when the parents came in for the IEP meeting. It was tense, I guess. So I'd like to see him in mediation, especially since his older siblings are already doing it. I don't see what harm mediation could have. As a building administrator, it's our duty to ensure that our students feel they are in a safe environment. If a student is threatening that safe environment, they need to know that's not tolerated. It is also our duty to educate and help children learn. We know that Carl's home life has been turned upside down, but we must also teach him now, while consequences are smaller than the real world, that he cannot act aggressively or start throwing things around, much less at anyone, when he's upset. As much as we may want Carl to succeed in our school, it will do neither of us any good if we simply let him continue to act as he is. Also, knowing we have a first-year special education teacher, it's our responsibility to help guide her along with expectations to make sure everything is being done legally to not only protect ourselves, but Carl and his family as well. How do we promote effective and efficient management of the school or district? By setting expectations and making sure they're enforced. We're ensuring effective and efficient management because we must be fair in all decisions and follow the rules accordingly. Setting high expectations gets high results. That's proven. So we also help manage by supporting our staff. We need Mrs. Taylor to know that action's being taken. Her problem in her classroom is not being ignored. It's being taken care of. And we need Miss Green to feel supported and know that she has mentors she can turn to. And we understand she's still learning, especially as she's a first-year teacher. That's a steep learning curve. How do we promote the social learning of every student? We want Carl to be able to stay in our school, but part of social learning is learning there are consequences for your actions. While we don't want to disrupt any more of his life, we can be the constant steady adult figures that have expectations and make sure he is upheld to them and understands he can't just act however he wants with his emotions, and that's okay. How do you as a school leader promote student academic learning? As an educational environment, academic learning is at the forefront, and we want every student to get the most possible out of their education at our school. With Carl, we want him to be able to stay in the classroom and gain that education. Concerning the other students in the classroom, we need to be sure that Carl's actions are not taking away from their education, because that's not fair to them to do that. We need to make sure we can find that balance of academic learning and benefiting all students in the classroom, while also benefiting Carl and making sure we're doing what's best in his learning career.